Okay, welcome back. We're going to do lesson 33, multiple unit multipliers and conversion of units of area. So we are on page 109. So 33A, multiple unit multipliers. We may repeatedly multiply a number by 1 without changing the number. So for example, 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 1 times 1 is 5, 5 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 5, and so on. If no matter how many times you multiply a number by 1, it is always going to be that number. So you do 5 times 100 ones, it would still be 5. So unit multipliers, they say that to kind of show you how unit multipliers work, because you are essentially multiplying by 1, because 1 foot is 12 inches, so it's essentially, in a sense, it is equal to 1. So let's take a look at this. Unit multipliers are used to convert from one unit of measure to another. Since unit multipliers are forms of 1, we may multiply a measure by several unit multipliers to convert the units without changing the measurement, without changing like how long it actually is. For example, to convert from inches to yards, we could remember that 1 yard equals 36 inches. However, memorizing this fact is unnecessary. We prefer to convert inches to yards by first converting inches to feet, then convert feet to yards. So here, let's see how they show you how to do it. So convert 360 inches to yards. Now, if you remember, we did kind of go over this in the other lessons, in another lesson, but it's going a little bit more in depth this time, and you can also use the same unit multipliers, obviously, that you used before. What I did is I kind of wrote down some of the unit multipliers that I knew I'd be using. Then it made it a little bit easier to reference, so I wasn't trying to think and figure things out while I was doing the problem. It makes it a little bit easier to know, okay, if I'm going from kilometers to centimeters, then I want kilometers to be in my denominator so they cancel. And that's what this problem is doing. So we're going to kind of go over that in a minute. But you want kilometers in your denominator, so you find your unit multiplier with kilometers in the denominator so it can cancel out these kilometers that are essentially in the numerator, because remember, any number over 1 is the same. So that's what you're doing there. So we'll get more to that in a second. Let's take a look at example 33.1. Convert 360 inches to yards. I apologize. I don't know if I'm covering up the microphone or not, but okay, there we go. Convert 360 inches to yards. We will use one unit multiplier to convert from inches to feet. Then we will use another to convert from feet to yards. So since inches and yards, like they said here, 36 inches is 1 yard, but you don't need to remember that. That's a little bit more difficult to remember. So we can kind of just do it twice, and it's a little bit easier. So we have 360 inches. And we wanted to use a unit multiplier to get rid of those inches. So we have in the denominator inches. So let's see, look, there we go. So we have 12 inches, 1 foot on top. So we go back here and we have 1 foot over 12 inches. Then you multiply by the second unit multiplier, because we got rid of the inches, but now we would be in feet. And we want what? Yards. So now we need to get rid of the feet. So we need to find the unit multiplier that has feet in the denominator, right here. 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. So we have 1 yard over 3 feet. That cancels the feet. So we are left with yard. So now we do the multiplication. Remember, this would be a numerator because it's over 1. We have 360 times 1 times 1. which is 360, and then do the multiplication on the bottom. 12 times 3, as you can see, they did that, 12 times 3. So that gives you, after you do the division, 10 yards. Okay, so let's do example 33.2. Use 2 unit multipliers to convert 1.4 kilometers to centimeters. So we'll go from kilometers, then to meters, then to centimeters. So we have here 1.4 kilometers, and this is kind of what I was showing you. There we go, up here. So 1.4 kilometers, and we want to convert to centimeters. But first we just want to get rid of the kilometers. So let's see, which conversion are we going to use that has kilometers in the denominator? We know 1,000 meters is equal to 1 kilometer. So we can use that. So then we have meters that we need to change to centimeters. So which conversion unit has meters in the denominator? So those can cancel. Let's see. We have 100 centimeters over 1 meter, because 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So then we multiply that in there, add it to the equation. So you have 1.4 kilometers times 1,000 meters over 1 kilometer times 100 centimeters over 1 meter. These meters will cancel then, and you are left with, obviously, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Then you do 1.4 times 1,000 times 100. The only unit left is centimeters, and you get 140,000 centimeters over 1, but you don't really need that 1 because we know it's actually any number over 1 is itself. So your answer will be 140,000 centimeters. Now, we might have remembered that 1 kilometer equals 100,000 centimeters, but attempting shortcuts like this often leads to errors. And it is true, especially with the metric system, you might get confused with all your zeros and decimals and all that. So it's easier to just kind of go from one to the next instead of trying to jump all the way from kilometers to centimeters. Okay, let's flip the page. Example 33.3. Sorry, I don't know. There we go. It's kind of focused now. Use 2 unit multipliers to convert 24 miles to inches. So we will go from miles to feet to inches, because remember, it's going to be too difficult to go right from feet to miles, or from miles to feet. Wait, let's see. We'll go from miles to feet to inches. So instead of going from miles to inches automatically, it's easier to go from miles to feet than to inches. Okay, so we know we want to go 24 miles and convert it to inches. So write down your 24 miles, and we eventually want inches to be there. So let's see, our unit multiplier, we want miles in the denominator. So we have 5,280 feet is equal to 1 mile. So let's go back over here. That's what they used. Miles cancel. And then you're gonna want feet to cancel and turn into inches. So you do times 1, let's see. So we want feet to cancel. Let's find our multiplier that has feet in the denominator. 12 inches over 1 foot. So they use that. Cancel out the feet. And your problem is 24 times 5,280 times 12, which is what they show right here. And then it's going to be over 1, so you don't even have to write the denominator. So do that multiplication, and you get 1,520,620 inches. So here, obviously, you can use a calculator. It says using a calculator, we find the answer multiplied out is 1,526,640 inches. Either answer is acceptable. So I did see that in the answers. You can either put this, or you can actually do the multiplication and put that as well. Okay, so I did want to remind you, some of you might be able to figure this stuff out and remember it in your head. If you can't, I would kind of, like I said, come up with it, write them down, take a look in the book at this lesson or the other lesson and write down some of those, or you could just pause this and copy these. You might need a little bit, a couple other ones I haven't checked in depth with the assignments though, but it should be pretty good. Okay, so let's move on. 33B, conversion of units of area. Now this is pretty much the same thing, but you are dealing with square units. So you're going to have to do it slightly differently. So 2 unit multipliers are required to convert units of area as shown in the next 3 examples. So example 33.4, use 2 unit multipliers to convert 4 square feet to square inches. First, we write square feet as 4 feet squared. And since feet squared means feet times feet, because remember, if there's the exponent of 2, you're multiplying something together 2 times. So feet square is the same as feet times feet. So we can write this as 4 feet times feet. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. 2 unit multipliers are required because a separate unit multiplier is needed to change each foot to inches. So we have 4 feet times feet times, we want to get rid of the feet, but we have 2 of the feet units here. So you have 1 foot here and 1 foot here, so that cancels out there and cancels out there. So our unit multiplier is that we know 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. We want foot in our denominator, or feet, sorry. And then we have 12 is the numerator on both, because 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, 12 inches equal to 1 foot. So now we just do the multiplication, 4 times 12 times 12, as you see here, and it's going to still be inches squared because we have those 2 inches there. So we multiply that out and get 576 inches square as our final answer. So it just says they used a calculator to get that. Okay, example 33.5. Use 2 unit multipliers to convert 4 square meters to square centimeters. This time, instead of writing meters squared as 4 meters times meters, like we did up here, we will simply keep it in mind and cancel using 2 unit multipliers. So they just simply wrote the 4 meters squared, just knew that crossing that out, that's meter, 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 chicken dinner. I don't know. Okay, so meters squared, you can cancel those out. So, okay, so they had 4 meters squared and wanted to convert it to centimeters squared. So we know 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. We wanted meters in the denominator. So we do that twice since it's meters squared. So cancel out the meters. We are left with 4 times 100 times 100, as you can see here. Because remember, the parentheses means multiplication as well. Centimeters squared, and then you do that multiplication, you get 40,000 centimeters squared as our final answer. Okay, my hand is getting tired. Okay, so example 33.6. Use 2 unit multipliers to convert 400 square inches to square feet. Since square inches means inches times inches, we use 2 unit multipliers so we can cancel inches squared, just like we did in the other problems. 400 inches squared, we want to get rid of inches squared and convert it to square feet. So you're going to do that twice so you can get feet squared. 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. You do that twice. 400 inches squared times 1 foot over 12 inches times 1 foot over 12 inches. Cancel the inches. Do the multiplication. 400 times 1 is equal to 400. Denominator, 12 times 12. Then you have your feet squared. When you do that multiplication and division, you get roughly, they just rounded to 2 decimal points. They got 2.78 feet squared, or 2 78 hundredths feet squared. So here it says we rounded our answer to 2 decimal places. Sorry, I kind of showed you the answer there. To 2 decimal places, so we used the approximately equal sign, that squiggly, in our answer. Okay, so now work on your practice problems. Ooh, don't pause it on the answer. Just try to do it yourself. And then pause it, and when we come back, once you unpause, we will go over the answers. Okay, so hopefully you did the practice problems. Let's take a look at the answers. A was 380,160 inches, and B was 2,880 inches squared. So you could, as you can see in the answers, you could write it either way. You could do it as the multiplication, or you could actually do the multiplication. Okay, so let's go over how we did that. So in A, we were going 6 miles, converting it to inches. So we have, and I apologize if I keep covering the microphone, I'm trying here. So 6 miles, we want to convert that to inches. This is how I found it was helpful for me, just to kind of make it more simple instead of having it in words and kind of written out. I don't know, but whatever works for you. So 6 miles to inches. So I wrote down 6 miles. I knew I'm going to have to multiply it by a unit multiplier. And we need to get rid of miles. So let's see, where are miles in the denominator? Right there. So I multiplied it by 5,280 feet per 1 mile. Cancel out the miles. Now I'm left with feet, but what do we want? Inches. So now we need to find the unit multiplier with feet in the denominator. So let's see, we have 12 inches is 1 foot. So we plug that in there, and we can cancel out the feet because numerator, denominator. Then you do your multiplication. 6 times 5,280 times 12 equals 380,160 inches. And then obviously 1 times 1 is 1. You don't need the denominator because it's 1. Okay, next problem. It said 20 square feet to square inches. So again, I have 20 feet squared, and we want to make it into inches squared. So now since it's squared, we're going to need 2 of the same unit multipliers. We want this feet squared to be canceled out. So where is feet in the denominator? Right here. Now we're going to do it twice. We can cancel 2 feet. So 20 feet squared times 12 inches over 1 foot times 12 inches over 1 foot. Cancel the feet. And you are left with 1 unit of inches, 2 units, so inches squared. Sorry, I don't know how to say that, but yes, 2 units of inches. So you have 20 times 12 times 12 gives you inches squared. When you multiply that out, you get 2,880 inches squared. And that does it today. For today, make sure you work on your homework, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you. Bye-bye.